Wrestling with Rosenberg. Ladies and gentlemen, The Big Show. You've had a pretty incredible career. What was the most fun period for you? Because just watching that NWO DVD and seeing you run in WCW, right. It's hard to imagine that you could have even had a hotter time than you had during that NWO period.
Actually, it was a hot time during the NWO period, but I was so green, I don't think really I was able to take it all in. I mean, I was still trying to find out who I was as a character, and these other guys just had such, huge personalities, and they were all so good on the microphone and so comfortable with who they were. And for me at the time, I was kind of a little bit like a lost puppy, though. And then our business back then was really rock and roll. It was, bars every night and towns and girls, and it was a really crazy lifestyle for a 22-year-old kid. Our business has evolved now. I mean, it's not like that now. And
but was it tough for you night to night? Were you going into a match thinking you really have to think about everything?
Yeah. I was really stressed and trying to make sure I didn't make mistakes. And I had a lot of good guys in my corner back then that were helping me. I mean, Savage was always a great help, and Arn Anderson is always from everything that I am today. And I tell you, is because of Arn. He always is that voice of reason. Well, what about this? And and he'll.
Do you do an Arn Anderson impression?
Well, I don't know. You half a giant. I don't know. Maybe you ought to, just make it ugly. When you do ugly is good. You're not going to look polished. You're a giant. It's supposed to be ugly. Every time you beat up on Rey Mysterio, I think it's like you're beating up a child. I want to call the police.
Tell me a little bit about Savage. I was just thinking about that. I think he's one of the absolute best to ever do it. You got to work with him in an interesting time.
I was a good friend with Randy. Really, I can honestly say Randy was a great friend and a very cool dude, and always had little snippets of good advice. Hey, brother, you don't have to run with the Joneses, brother. Just be careful with what you're doing, stay true to who you are, and let the rest of them figure it out.
And did you talk to him after your days working with him?
Oh, yeah. I saw Randy. I was really happy for Randy. He reunited with an old high school girlfriend, and his hair was undyed. He had the white beard like Gandalf, and was just... had a real good twinkle in his eye. I mean, he was really, really happy. And I think that was the sad thing, was to see for Randy to pass like that when he was so happy. Maybe it was good because Randy was really happy finally.
On a more positive note relating to him, I always think the thing that was so special about him was this is my case. I'm going to give you my case for why Randy Savage could arguably be the greatest worker of all time.
All right.
Number one, great in the ring, great on the mic. Easy. Great as a heel, great as a babyface.
True that.
Could work a program with a guy his size or smaller or much bigger.
True.
It's hard to have all those qualities in one wrestler.
Yeah, it is. And Randy was really great about being business. Sometimes guys get wrapped up in their own shit too much. Randy was Randy Savage. And heel or babyface, he was Randy Savage. And it was very cool to work with him because you knew you had that stable factor. A lot of times in a match, you have to keep the other guy, and keep yourself, and then blend the two. I mean, you would think Rey Mysterio and I would be a very hard match to have because I'm so big and Rey is so small. I love working with Rey. Rey made me a giant. When it was time for Rey to make a comeback, sell his stuff, the place come undone. There wasn't anybody that didn't believe that Rey stood a chance, and that's the whole thing to psychology in our business. And a lot of things I try to stress to the younger guys now, it's the one big thing that goes on in our industry now, and if you really want some inside stuff, I'll give you inside stuff that bothers me, is most every finish in a tag match has a dip. Quit putting a dip in a finish when you're a new tag team. If you're a new heel tag team,
what do you mean a dip?
A dip is there's a comeback and then the comeback stop.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right,
it's a dip. Stop that. When you're younger, if you're a babyface tag team, you're going over, make a comeback
and win
and go home.
Yeah,
because the only reason a dip works in a finish or false finish situation is because the audience is emotionally invested in your character.
That's absolutely right.
If they're not emotionally invested in you and you put a dip in a finish, it just looks like you're going to get the job done. You know what I'm saying?
No, and the crowd lets out.
They let the air out.
Let
You
out.
get them to the highest point, then they drop. You never get them back. Whereas you get guys that are over.
Right. If Cena does it, it's different.
Cena does it. Taker and Shawn, what made that match so amazing is Taker and Shawn sat there and traded their heaviest guns. Taker and Shawn, they traded their heaviest guns back and forth. And you were emotionally invested because you really didn't know who you wanted to win. Did you want Shawn to win? Did you want Taker to win? But you appreciate the fact that they got you emotionally invested in the match. And that's the thing that, I catch shit all the time. Like, oh, you're slow. I'm slow for a reason. I'm slow because that's my character and that's my style. Now, when I accelerate my offense, it's not slow. There's not a big man that moves as fast as I do. When it's time for me to bump and feed for a comeback, I bump and feed for a comeback. You know what I mean? But in the meantime, why am I going to run around and look like everyone else? It's not because I'm lazy. It's because I'm telling a story.
You're a big prodding giant.
Exactly, and I'm telling a story. And I try to explain that to some of the younger guys that, find out who you are and get people emotionally invested. And that's the only difference between, look at Randy Orton. Randy Orton really doesn't do much.
Mm-mm.
He sells well. He does a few of his things well. But he does all the little intricate things in between that keeps the crowd emotionally involved. And it's not by, hey, cheer for me, like some people do, or, ooh, shut up, like some heels do. He does it through his work and his bridges. And that's the thing that becoming a better worker is about telling the story, getting people emotionally invested. If it's your job as a heel, your job as a heel is to get the babyface over, which means when it's time for you to get your heat, you get your heat. And your heat's not big moves. As a heel, your heat is underhanded, is kicking a guy when he's down, is taking the easy route out if you can, bailing out of the ring and bailing back in the ring as the babyface comes in, cutting him off when he's trying to get in through. It's a psychological game of America and the human race in general has always fought from underneath, through evolution, through war, through disease, through famine. We've always had to overcome these obstacles, and that's where sports entertainment comes in and has so many fans that are emotionally invested, because we all understand that paradox of life, of fighting from underneath, of having that obstacle to overcome. And though I had fun as a babyface, and I've been around a long time, and it was fun to laugh and do all the stuff we did, it's better for me as a heel because I'm better for the younger talent to teach them how to work from underneath.
Always.
And I can set that pace. The match Monday, Cena and I, wasn't a word said before the match. Wasn't a word said. We went out there and worked. I know John's stuff. John knows my stuff. And we worked. And it was competitive and it was hard. Hard hitting, hard action. I told my story. I was a giant. I enjoyed punishing this guy that never gives up. And the guy that never gives up never gave up. It's an easy storm. It's an easy formula. It's an easy story to tell. And that's what the fans get involved with, the storylines. They get involved with the drama. And then, when you go out there and you execute something that they appreciate because they can understand it and it gives them what they want. I mean, it's really an easy formula. You
and Mark Henry were doing special stuff last year. I was at that match. I was at the superplex off the top rope. I was front row for that thing.
Yeah.
You guys are doing special stuff.
Me personally, I think I should have won with the elbow off the top in the Garden. Sorry. That was a high moment, and you probably won't see my ass coming off the top rope again. That should have been it. But it was a great feud with Mark because Mark really elevated his performance, his game, his promos. There wasn't one person that didn't believe that Mark Henry would rip your spine out.
He was the scariest heel we'd seen in a while.
Oh, he's amazing. He's amazing. When he turns it on, he's so powerful.
Would you think you guys? I sort of think that when Mark gets back, even though you guys have done it before, I think you guys working Mania would be a great thing.
I think it's fresh. I think Mark comes back as a babyface. I'm still a heel. We reverse the roles and rock and roll. I would love to. It just depends on Mark. And he's had a real serious shoulder injury that he worked with a bad shoulder. And it's just it's up to Mark. You know what I mean? Whether he wants to do different things for the company or if he wants to be stupid like me and pound up and down the road. I don't know. I just don't know what else to do, so that's why I stay on the road.
I think I have a hunch we'll see this guy again soon. He's got to be fiending.
I hope so. I saw him at Tribute to the Troops, and it was like, my old best friend was back.
Funny thing about Mark Henry, best heel I think working today, biggest baby face in real life you could ever meet.
Mark?
Yes.
Doesn't he have $1 million smile?
And when you go out with the guy in public, just watching the way he is with people.
He's like old school mafia or something. Everybody knows
everyone, everywhere. In every
Everyone
city, he's got a place to go, a restaurant.
A restaurant, good food. Hey, man, so-and-so's cooking some soul food over here. Or, hey, man, you might want to come over here, man. This is really good Italian. And, like, oh, yeah, man, I'll meet you over there. Because if Mark's going around, the food's going to be good.
Yo, guaranteed.
Yeah, he's just a great human being, a great person. And I'm really happy. Was really happy for Mark to get that run last year. And I was really proud to be a part of working with him. And I love it when I get a chance to work with other guys and I can help make them better, just like this, the feud with Sheamus. This thing is pretty intense, and it's good for Sheamus to have, a battle to come up against.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been good for him. It's been good for me because a lot of times, you if I become too aggressive and some guys fold, Sheamus stands right in there and doesn't fold. So it's been great.
Are you like Jericho's the one I always talk about in this regard? Do you really he seems to get a lot of satisfaction out of doing the job for someone. Do you really like it?
All I care about is reaction from the fans. I could give a flying fig and a rolling donut. Losing. That's some guys live and die by winning and losing. They have a nervous breakdown or in a crappy mood all day if they got to do a job. I don't care. As long as the angle's right, the business is right, not a problem.
Who's the guy? I'm a huge fan. I will support what's happening in WWE regardless. But I'm honest when I do this show. I've had concerns since the 3-hour format. I find it's been a little bit tougher for me to get through a full show recently, right. And I've been looking for that next breakout person who gets me incredibly excited. Punk is now established. We had that moment a year ago where it was like, yes, brand new, now he's established. Right. Who's the next guy? Is Dolph Ziggler right there? Who's that guy who takes us to the next place?
Dolph is definitely right there. If they turn the trigger on Dolph and make him a babyface, he'll be a hell of a babyface. There's a lot of us that want Dolph to start using Shawn's super kick. He threw it in one of the pay-per-views and matches a while ago. If they give Dolph the super kick, Dolph's a player in my mind.
That's so interesting. I didn't even think about it.
He needs a finish that makes him a contender right away. And if we all establish that Dolph has a super kick like Shawn, Dolph's great on the mic.
And who could do it better? I mean, he the way he would look doing it would be awesome.
But it's kind of thing. It'd be like somebody coming in new and doing a tombstone. That's
it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's got to be somebody worthy. So but I think Dolph is great in the ring. He's a fantastic talent, a really great kid. I like him a lot. And me personally, I would love to work with Dolph as Dolph being a babyface and him have that super kick. It would be because no matter where you are in the match, you could be pounding the crap out of him, boom, 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 and then bam, he hits out of nowhere.
And he is one of the only guys you can point a finger at and say, this guy has the physical ability to potentially be in a really high category one day. I mean, he's special talent.
He's got the performance ability to do it. And there's whatever's holding him back right now, you never know. Maybe they're saving him. A lot of times it's not. You don't throw everything you got out there right now just because you think you need it. You got to string it along and introduce it when it's most impactful and means something. So when the right program comes along for Dolph, and if they give Dolph a finisher like that's already established. And the reason I say the super kick would be good for him, in my opinion, is because it's so established, and it was established by a great worker who was a smaller guy.
Right. It all fits.
It would fit. You know what I mean? So, other guys that I like, Wade's come along really good. Mm-hmm. Wade's a player down the road, definitely. Kofi's doing really well. New heels that we got. I'm loving the Shield.
Yeah, the Shield's getting interesting. That's starting to pick up.
All those guys on the Shield are really, really impressing me. And Seth Rollins and Reigns and they're just they've got a little unique flavor about them. So I just like their interview content and the way they're doing the interviews and
some of the looks they're giving to
some of the looks. Yeah, it's interesting. I find myself watching what they're saying even as a veteran, because sometimes as a veteran you'll sit there and watch and go, okay, that's some shit that some writer wrote that has never been to fight in his life, and you can tell. but their stuff is creative and pretty cool, and you find yourself leaning in when they're talking. So that,
as we call it in radio, a lean-in moment.
A lean-in moment, and those guys are pulling it off. So
I know you got to go in a minute. Your ideal final match. I mean, you're not gonna last forever. You've lasted
my ass.
You've lasted a long time. Let's sometime
I'm gonna come out and win the Hall of Fame Rumble at 80. You know, finally I'll win a Rumble.
Exactly.
Imagine that, a giant that's never won a Battle Royal. Imagine that.
Although they love to, even to Andre, they love to pull the giant. The giant getting out of the Battle Royal is like, that's that moment that they always have. What's the ideal last match for you? Hopefully years down the road, but what is that?
Yeah, it will be years down the road, but I don't know. There's so many things that can happen, and new talent that's come along. I don't know.
Is there anyone you haven't faced yet who's out there that you never had a good run with? Maybe you had a match with them.
I'd like to have a good run with Randy. You know, Randy and I have touched here and there, but that's still, in my opinion, a little bit virgin as far as hasn't been a real story angle with that. I don't know. There's some new talent down in NXT that's coming along. Well, we'll see. I tell you, a kid that I like in NXT that I think a lot of people are going to like is Bo Dallas, Mike Rotunda's son.
Oh, really?
He's looks like that kid Jacob from Twilight. Mm-hmm. Long hair, good-looking kid. And, buddy, you have not seen fire. Remember in the old days, Tommy Rich had all that fire? Mm-hmm. Okay, Bo has that natural, reckless, abandoned fire that is so good, and he's got a good smile on him. He's a pretty big kid too.
I like the name Bo Dallas too.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, he's got a lot of potential in my mind that I've seen so far with it. Then there's a lot of those NXT kids that are really good that are like, wow, you may think that we're in a little bit of a valley as far as talent right now, and in one aspect we are with all the television we have and injuries and whatnot.
It's just a lot of time to fill. It is a lot of time to fill.
It's a lot of time to fill. But trust me, from somebody that's on the inside, the future looks pretty bright.
Really?
So, yeah, there's a lot of talent that's coming up, a lot of great athletes, a lot of different characters. Definitely I want to be around and be a part of all this and help bring these guys along.
Can we see another storyline that involves you jumping onto a family member's casket and getting dragged?
You know, it was funny. That wasn't supposed to be in there. That was me clowning because when Boss Man was peeling out, the car wasn't moving. It was there. I was like, well, okay, well, this shot's dead, so I'll just jump on the casket. And they kept it. They thought it was great.
It's ridiculous.
You know, I could have rode it all the way out of the cemetery, but eventually I had to bail off before he got to going too fast. But, yeah, that was a fun angle. I remember working with Boss Man one time in WCW. And
talk about a big man who could move.
Yeah, 300 pounds, one of the nicest guys in the world, just a sweet, sweet guy. We had a spot where he was going to come off the apron and give me a big cross body, and I was going to take a bump. And back then, I was so green, I wasn't used to falling down. Don't bump. Don't fall down. Don't take a bump. You're a giant. Giant never falls down. Well, that's pretty boring if I never fall down. There's not much I can do.
Right.
Although Khali's made a career out of it, I like to have exciting matches, the best that I can produce. I know I'm not Sean Taker, but for my size, I do pretty damn good.
You do.
I know that.
You do.
So Boss Man comes off with a cross body, and I catch him. An infamous Ray Traylor. Now what? Because I got him. So from the floor, I just pressed him over my head, and he was 310 then. Pressed him over my head and threw him over the top rope back in the ring. And he goes, golly! Like that. He was laughing. I got the back. I said, sorry, I forgot to take a bump. He said, it's okay. That was amazing. You know, so he just a
that's awesome. Did you ever do anything with Bam Bam?
No, I never got to work with Bam Bam. I see him around a lot, and he was a heck of an athlete.
Because they're the two in my mind, you know, roughly the same size and just the incredible athletic ability.
A lot of guys that were good athletes that didn't look like they should be good athletes. Ray Traylor was a great athlete. Bam Bam.
Adrian Adonis?
Yes, thank you. Adrian Adonis. Wow, there's my mental Rolodex. I've been hit with a lot of chairs. Work with me. Yeah, a lot of those guys were great athletes and great workers. That's the thing you'll find, too, is a lot of times you'll find guys that have charisma surrounded by guys that are good in-ring talents. You know, in my opinion, one of the greatest in-ring talents that made everybody look good was Arn. You know, I'm not saying it just because he's my mentor and my friend, but if you go back and look at Arn made a lot of guys that were really shitty look really good.
Oh, He's
really good. And, it bothered me a little bit. Arn, of course, is very humble, and he got into the Hall of Fame and the Four Horsemen. And I'm like, man, you should have gotten the Hall of Fame on your own.
Yeah.
Sorry, in my opinion, but, there's a lot of us that really, really respect Arn and appreciate what he's given to us.
All right, last two. We're both being called out here. Last 2-second question. Do you think that there's a chance we see your old friend Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 30? Would you be surprised?
No, I would not be surprised at all. Anything can and will and could happen.
Would you be surprised if he worked a match at WrestleMania 30?
No, I would not be surprised at all. Hulk's of the old school era,
He'll do what it takes.
Do what it takes. He'll get it done. It's not going to be, Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty.
No, but it'll be something.
It'll be something.
Listen,
yes.
What a pleasure. You're so special for the business. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Andre would be proud.
I hope so. Either that or he kicked the shit out of me. One of the two.
The Big Show, ladies and gentlemen.